I'm joined by Tony Battaglene, the Chief Executive of Australian Grape and Wine, who gave a talk about the key challenges of geopolitics and the Australian wine sector. So Tony, currently, what are the biggest threats to the Australian wine industry's prosperity from a geopolitical point of view?
I guess there's 3 or 4 really big threats. The first is the relationship with China. China is by far and away our biggest market, $1.2 billion worth of exports going to China. So that relationship between our governments is absolutely vital to get that right. We all know last year we suffered some problems at the border where we had some shipments held up. We can't afford to see that again. So that's one of the big issues. The second issue is Brexit. I'm not going to forecast what's going to happen in Brexit. I didn't in my speech today and I won't. And now, all I know is that there will be a new PM tomorrow, but what that means for the industry is going to be very important. We've insulated ourselves as much as possible, but we don't know where we'll end up. So they're 2 really big issues, but when you go down to it, Brexit's also going to create instability in Europe. It's a problem. Once the subsidies get cut off, and they will because the UK is a net contributor of subsidies, that's going to impact on the profitability of the European wine sector. There's a swathe of free trade agreements. There's Donald Trump's erratic politics. There's a swathe of potential threats.
What can the Australian wine industry do to protect against these threats?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and one that in the past we probably would have thrown our hands up in the air and said we can't do anything. But it's not the case. So there's a lot of things we can and are doing. Firstly, we can work very closely with our government to try and ease some of those relationships with China. The best way to work with China is to actually work with them on common issues. One of those is copycat and counterfeit wine. We've both got an interest in it, so let's build a relationship between regulators. So that's one thing. On Brexit, we've already brought into play a treaty so that on Brexit, 31st of October, no matter what happens, our product going into the UK will be under the same conditions as today. So that's something we can do. And we're meeting with the British authorities regularly to talk about what other things we can do. I met with them as recently as last week. So there's areas there that we can address. So there's always something you can do, but the biggest one will be we need to diversify our markets. Can't have all our eggs in the China basket. So we need to actually start spending more money and going into other markets.
Your talk focused on geopolitical issues around the world, such as the global trade war between US and China, Brexit, and tensions in the Middle East. Why should the Australian wine industry care about these things?
Yeah, it's a great question. In my position, I have the great privilege of representing small, medium, large winemakers and all the grape growers in Australia. And there's always different pressure points for these groups. So it doesn't matter if you don't export product, it's what happens to our exports that will impact on you as a domestic producer. We export over 60% of our wine every year. So it's the profitability on export that drives our growth. The domestic market, it's pretty static. It's not doing much, it's growing very, very slowly. If we suddenly lose a market, if Brexit, for example, meant the UK market wasn't available, that product's got to go somewhere. And where will it go? Back into the Australian market. That'll depress prices, we've got an oversupply of wine, and everyone will suffer. So just because we talk about export doesn't mean it doesn't affect everyone. It's just an issue that the whole industry is reliant on.